Over the years, I've worked on a lot of projects that I'm proud of, but I've also worked on a lot of buggy, incomplete, and honestly, pretty embarrassing games. But now that I finally have the skills to see a game through to the end, I thought, why not embarrass myself one more time by sharing my progress on a multiplayer roguelike that I've been working on lately. Someday I do want to come back and finish my card game, but for now, I just want to work on a game that I can fully develop on my own from start to finish. This game is inspired by indie games like Dungreed, Roguelands, Cube World, and VR Girlfriend, of course. I mean, how can I come up with such brilliant game design without my muse? I started by getting assets from itch.io, with which I made a small arena, and then I created a player prefab and some monsters. The player's movement is synchronized over the network by having the player send its transform position to the server through a command, and then that command calls an RPC that updates the player's position on every client. This is the same thing I did with monsters, except that monsters are already handled by the server, so you don't need to call a command, just an RPC. For now, all the monsters do is chase you around like a sex offender on Halloween, but later on I'll add some more interesting AI, especially when I start designing the first boss. The next thing I did was synchronize the player's mouse position and look direction so you can see where your players are looking, and whenever a projectile spawns on the screen, everyone sees it going in the same direction. This is honestly only a few lines of code, but back in 2017 when I first started messing around with UMMORPG 2D and mirror networking, it took me over a month to figure out how to send the mouse position to the server. I recorded a bunch of videos at the time to try and understand where I was going wrong, and as you can see, whatever I coded at the time just wasn't working. But now my brain is wrinkled enough to understand it pretty well. We just create a syncvar for our mouse position, which I called aim direction, and then we update it with a command before every attack. Whenever we need to use this variable, we just reference our player and get the aim direction, and the look direction works the exact same way. It's as simple as that. I really can't believe I couldn't figure this out sooner. But you live and you learn. Well, you live at least. For animations, I decided to use Unity's animation system instead of creating unique sprites for every attack and movement. This is obviously going to save a ton of time as I add more weapons and allow me to quickly create unique animations for all the different items. It's a practice that I learned from observing Roguelands, and it's pretty much how every 3D game works. The main benefit of this system is actually that we can separate our hands into a different layer so that they animate independently from our body. This allows us to play attacking and moving animations at the same time, which obviously is pretty crucial for any kind of fast-paced game. One of the features I struggled with a lot last year was synchronizing weapon rotations. It took over a week to figure this out, and when I finally did, I shit you not, I had an epiphany that allowed me to really understand the fundamentals of mirror networking. I was so clueless as to how to add this feature and how to synchronize the rotation on the server that I actually entertained the thought of spawning an NPC in your hand, changing its sprite to a weapon, and then animating the rotations using Unity's animation system and synchronizing the animations with the mirror. It's a pretty barbaric loophole, and thankfully I didn't resort to such egregious coding, and honestly I'm not even sure if it would have worked. Instead, I figured out how to make the rotation work in single player, and then I duplicated the code and made the code run on the server. This made the game incredibly laggy, like literally unplayable. But then it hit me. The only variable that changes when I rotate the weapon is the z-axis. I don't need the rotation code to run on the server. All I need to do is send the z-axis to the server with a command, and then have the server send the z-axis to the clients with an RPC. Once the clients have the z-axis, they can use that information to rotate the weapons themselves and relieve the server of that unnecessary burden. And it actually worked! This really helped me understand how to think in terms of what information exactly does the server need to have, and what information does the client need to have. I also talk a little bit about this in my first card game video. After all this, I added a companion feature, which is basically a cute little friendly monster that follows you around, and when I tested the code online I realized that it was super jittery, so I was originally not going to include this feature in the video until I had fixed it, but while editing this video I realized that I made the same mistake with my companion code that I had done with my weapon rotation code. I had the movement code running on the server. So I let the client handle the movement instead, and then the server sends our companion's position to other clients using an RPC. Same as we do with players and monsters, and now it works flawlessly. Of course, for now, companions don't do anything other than look frickin' cute, but later on they'll have unique passives and abilities that should significantly alter gameplay. I got these companions from itch.io as well, and I just can't get enough of them. Man, I just can't wait to give these creatures unique mechanics. But for now, all you can really do in the game is run around with your cute-ass companion and your ugly-ass friends and kill slimes. In the next video, I'll be adding procedural dungeon generation, more monsters, more weapons, more loot, and hopefully the first boss too. I want to try and get this this game to a very early but playable state, so stick around for all that good stuff coming your way. And if you have any questions or any ideas for weapons, companions, gameplay mechanics, or just revolutionary ice cream toppings, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and see you all in the next video.